How soon do you anticipate going to meet with Putin to discuss the Ukraine situation?
Well, I can't tell you that, but I know that Putin would like to meet. I don't think it's appropriate that I meet until after the 20th.
All right, so President-elect Trump says he hopes to meet with Putin within the first 6 months of taking office. Keith Kellogg is Trump's nominee for special envoy to Russia and Ukraine, also a former national security advisor to President Trump and Vice President Pence. Good to see you, sir. Welcome, General. Can you tell us anything about what you've discussed with the president-elect or forecast what that meeting might look like to us?
Yeah, Sandra, thanks for having me. The answer is no. But I'm not going to, get in any conversation I've had with the president or any of the team out there. But I do know this, that he wants this war to end. It's carnage, and he knows it's a tough one. He said that yesterday in his press conference, but he's committed to it. And then when you look at it, I know I'm on the clock. Sort of goes back to the NFL draft days when the Atlanta Falcons are on the clock. Well, I'm on the clock, and he's on the clock as well because he wants to end it as quickly as he can. Because when you look at the damage, when you look at what's happening within Ukraine, and just the casualties alone are enormous. The Russian casualties, the Ukrainian casualties, the damage to their cities. This is a war that needs to end. And I think he can do it in the near term. I really do have a lot of confidence in his ability to actually get to a position where this war is actually over. And I think what people need to understand, he's not trying to give something to Putin or to the Russians. He's actually trying to save Ukraine and save their sovereignty. And he's going to make sure that it's equitable and that it's fair. And he said that repeatedly, both when Zelensky met him in Trump Tower and when he said it on his press conferences. So I think, I don't want to divulge anything that the president says or doesn't say because he speaks for himself. I do not speak for him. We've had an opportunity to talk about it. And we'll have more after the 20th of January when he's officially the president, not president-elect.
All right. In the meantime, you mentioned that news conference yesterday where he said a lot. In fact, he, in this moment, blames Biden's mistakes in the negotiation for the war in Ukraine and says this.
Yeah.
A big part of the problem was Russia for many, many years, long before Putin said you could never have NATO involved with Ukraine. Now, they've said that. That's been written in stone. And somewhere along the line, Biden said, no, they should be able to join NATO. Well, then Russia has somebody right on their doorstep, and I could understand their feeling about that. But there were a lot of mistakes made in that negotiation.
Your reaction, General?
Well, I think he's absolutely right. I think the biggest mistake that President Biden made is the fact that he's never engaged in any conversations with Putin. I mean, he hasn't talked to him in over 2 years. He needs to talk to him. That's one great thing the president does, is the president does talk to adversaries and allies alike. And he knows it's a tough one, but he actually knows you need to talk to people to get to an end state, and that's what he's going to do. So what we'll set the conditions for the president, and then he'll eventually get to a position where he'll be talking to President Putin and also President Zelensky as well. And I think they're going to come to a solvable solution in the near term. And when I say by the near term, I would like to set a goal on a personal level and professional level. I would say let's set it at 100 days and move our way back and figure a way we can do this in the near term to make sure that this solution is solid, it's sustainable, and that this war ends and so that we stop the carnage. And I think that's going to be very, very important to do. It's going to be important for our national security. It's a part of our vital national interest, and it's also good for Europe as well, and the globe as well.
All right, General. Well, he did, the president-elect, get everybody talking with this moment in that press conference when he made these comments on Greenland. Listen.
Well, we need Greenland for national security purposes. I've been told that for a long time. You get rid of that artificially drawn line, and you take a look at what that looks like. And it would also be much better for national security. Don't forget, we basically protect Canada. Look, the Panama Canal is vital to our country. It's being operated by China. And we gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China.
Get a final thought from you on all of that, General.
Yeah, well, quickly, two things. One with Panama, the Land Bridge Group is a Chinese group that's actually running the Panama Canal. They've got their headquarters on the Atlantic side in Cologne, and they basically do run the canal. And the president's right about that. And when it comes to Greenland, people forget that, President Andrew Johnson tried to buy Greenland when he went after Alaska as well. And at the end of World War II, You had President Truman offer $100 million to buy Greenland then. So this is not a new idea. This is actually an older idea that's come around. So when you look at what the president is doing, he's really kind of thinking out of the box. He's trying to engage, and he's putting the United States in a position of global leadership. So when you look at it historically, there's a lot of things he is saying is very, very accurate historically, and it makes a lot of sense internationally what it looks like for the future. You know, when it comes to Panama, I was an assault brigade commander during Just Cause, the invasion of Panama. We actually did take the Panama Canal back in the late 80s during Operation Just Cause, and 3 weeks later we gave it back to them. So we've taken it before. It's happened before. And I think his point about the Chinese running the canal is a good point, because over 70% of the commerce that goes through the Panama Canal is in fact American. So it is in our vital interest, in our vital national interest, that that canal stays sovereign.
General, always good to have you on the program. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, Sandra.
All right.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.